Hi, Analisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the June 2024 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Aries for sun and rising placements. I'm going to apologize in advance and say that I have not been with it today, and I waited until June 4th to start these videos, so I'm trying to get them all done for you guys before it gets too late into June. But I have just been having a day and I don't feel great, so no excuses, but I'm trying to just power through it. So if I'm a little jumbly more than usual, that is why, and I apologize. Aries, how are you? It is June. We are in Gemini season. Gemini is the mutable air sign of the zodiac, and where Gemini hits in the Aries horoscope is the third house. So Gemini rules the third house, which is the house of communication. It's the house that represents our relationship to our siblings, our neighbors. It's also simplified learning and short distance travel. And so this area of the chart is highlighted for the Aries horoscope. Gemini makes what's called a sextile to Aries, which is actually a really harmonious energy. And so this season for you is really going to be focused on communication patterns, how you think about things, how you analyze things. You know, Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, which is the planet that represents our relationship to communication and thought, and also travel. And so having Mercury passing through Gemini over this beginning of June is really going to emphasize your thought process. So starting out June 1st, we still have Mercury in the first 2 days of June in Cancer. So I'm sorry, in Taurus. So Mercury is going to finish up its little stint in Taurus, where it's been in your house of money, your house of finances, and then it's going to move into your house of communication. So we're going to have the Sun, Venus, and Mercury all hitting that house of communication for you starting out June. Venus is the planet that represents relationships. So how you communicate in your relationships is a big theme. Gemini also has a relationship to anxiety because it's the energy that has to do with analytical thinking. And so a lot of times we tend to overthink things in the sign of Gemini. We think about, like, when you're analyzing a problem or a situation and you're thinking of all the potential outcomes and you want to problem solve, before. I call it mitigation of risk. I think Virgo and Gemini are the signs that want to problem solve and mitigate risk. And so there's elevated energy around that. It's also an energy that can make us more prone to what is called analysis paralysis, where we can overthink things to the point where we feel paralyzed and we don't do anything, we don't take action. But, we've got Mars in your sign of Aries still. So Mars entered Aries at the beginning of May, and Mars is going to be finishing up its stint in Aries in June. And so for the first week of June, Mars is going to be in your first house still, like kind of ramping things up. So, that sextile that Aries makes to Gemini is still, it's positive in the sense that you have an ability to really apply your mental process and think a lot about all the moving parts, but it also can amplify things in a way where you can feel really anxious and discombobulated. So if you're feeling kind of more of that expansive thought energy that's running away from you a little bit, you can thank Mars and Aries in your first house. It's really like wanting to push the will forward, and then all this Gemini energy in your third house of communication. Starting out the month, we still have Saturn in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and Pluto in Aquarius. Jupiter is now in Gemini. So Jupiter entered Gemini at the end of May, and now Jupiter is going to be in Gemini for the rest of the year. And Jupiter is going to be adding to that third house energy where you're growing and expanding the way that you think about things. So, Jupiter passing through the third house, what is our relationship to communication, how we think, how do we learn, how do we learn fact-based things versus spiritual, philosophical things? Those are all big themes. Early in the month on June 6th, we're going to have our new moon at 16 degrees of Gemini. So again, this is hitting the area of the chart for Aries that has to do with communication. New moons are all about setting intentions. And so this is a really positive time for you to really reflect on how you communicate, how you problem solve, how you mitigate risk, how do you get in front of things, how do you analyze things. Are there things that you do that are working for you that you want to, maybe manifest more of? Or are there things that you do that aren't working for you where you're thinking, maybe you need to spend more time analyzing or thinking about things? Aries energy specifically can be really impulsive and reactive. And so a lot of times Aries doesn't think enough about things. Aries will sit and think more about, what do I want right now and how do I make it happen? Aries is really good at taking action and making things happen. Unfortunately, just because you're good at taking action and making things happen or meeting the moment in the present time really quickly, or even in the shorter, moment more quickly, let's say like a week or something. Sometimes Aries fails to think big picture and fails to think about the ramifications of the actions for the long haul. This is where the mutable signs come in. So Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius are more big picture thinkers. And so when we have energy in Gemini, we're trying to think big picture. We're trying to analyze things more in all of the moving parts and see, is this choice good for a longer period of time? What are the long-term ramifications of this choice? And, Geminis can also be incredibly impulsive. I know a lot of Geminis that are impulsive. A lot of times they have a lot of fire energy too, though. So I think that that's something to kind of think about as an Aries, you have the ability to really get in front of things and plan things out and strategize things that you want to do moving forward this Gemini season, but it's going to take you slowing down and applying yourself. And when Mars enters Taurus on the 9th, you're actually going to have the ability to slow down, not just think more analytically with the Gemini energy, but also apply it in the mundane or the practical more pragmatically and less in this reactive way. But that June 6th, the new moon at 16 degrees of Gemini is something to kind of think about. How are you setting intentions around your mental process? Because that's a big theme. On June 17th, let me make sure this is right, because I have two different ephemerises. I've got a universal time, and then I've got the East Coast, Pacific Coast timeline. The days are always a little bit off here, depending on which one I'm looking at. But we have on the 17th, Mercury and Venus are both going to be entering Cancer. So they're going to be leaving Gemini and entering your 4th house, which is the house that represents home and family. And so, Venus in the 4th house, we tend to really want to focus on the aesthetics of the home. So the way we decorate, are there things around our home that we want to beautify or make better? Do we want to paint a wall a different color? Do we want to buy different furniture? Are there plants that we want to have in different spaces? Like, this is a time where really focusing on your home is really positive. Also, your relationships to family are emphasized with the Venus in Cancer that's happening over the rest of the month. And then we also have whoever we share or cohabitate our space with also gets emphasized. So if you're married or in a relationship or you live with roommates, those relationships get highlighted while Venus is passing through your 4th house. And then Mercury is also coming through on this day as well. They're both entering Cancer on this day. And so Mercury being the planet that represents communication within relationships around the home structure, and also communication in your family structure is emphasized for the month of June for the rest of the month. On the 20th, we have our summer solstice, and that's when the sun is going to be entering Cancer. So from the 20th through the rest of the month, the sun is also going to be highlighting your 4th house of home and family. So home and family is a big theme for the end of June. Let's see, what else do we have going on? We're going to have our full moon, I think, after that. So we're going to have a full moon in Capricorn on a full moon in Capricorn on June 21st. And that's going to be happening in the area of the chart that represents your career. So full moons are a great time to set intentions for things that you want to manifest. So you're going to have the sun in that home and family area, and then you're going to have the moon in that career area. And so you might be reflecting a lot on your public life, your public image. What are you doing with your work? And this is a really positive time for you to set intentions around what you want to manifest or cultivate when it comes to your career and the work that you do in the world. So those are the major themes for you. At the very end of the month on the 29th, Saturn is going to station retrograde in Pisces. And so you will be experiencing a Saturn retrograde happening in your 12th house, which is the house that represents your relationship to your subconscious. And so, you know, you might have some I don't know why I said restricted. That's interesting. Repressed trauma that starts to kind of leak out through your subconscious. And the way that that can happen often is through dreams or visions of things from your past that come up that are asking for your attention during this time. And with that Cancer energy highlighted, it's possible that it has a lot to do with your early childhood memories. The other thing that we didn't really talk too much about was the Mars and Taurus transit is hitting your house of finances. And so money is going to be a big theme for you in June, starting on the 9th. And the rest of June, finances are going to be highlighted. And Mars here, so whenever Mars is passing through a house that has to do with money, it can come quickly, but it can go quickly as well. And Mars, you know, being a planet that in traditional astrology is called malefic, it usually means that there's some kind of challenges when it comes to money. So that's something to watch out for the Aries horoscope this month, is that money could be more unstable. But in Taurus, Taurus also is good at generating a lot of income. So it might just be one of those things where if you are generating a lot of income this month, you want to be really mindful with where it's going. Just because you have a lot of it now doesn't mean you're going to have a lot of it later. And so, you know, your ability to overspend or have things happen that cause you to have to spend more money than what you were hoping for is elevated during the month of June. All right, Aries, I'm going to keep it simple. Sometimes I talk too much in these, and I'm going to try to roll that back a little bit for my own mental health. And I hope that you have a great month of June. There's a lot of opportunity for growth here. And I will see you guys next month. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button to get notified on when I post these every month. You can book a one-on-one session with me by emailing analisa6@ladyofleisure.com and telling me what kind of reading you would like to book. You can also find me at ladyofleisure.com and thesobercurator.com and my Instagram at ladyofleisure. All right, happy June, and I look forward to seeing you guys next month.